What's up, guys? TopTierYugioh here, and now that the second episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains is finally out, this is going to be my episode review and thoughts on Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains Episode 2. They get into the duel where we left off, winner gets Ignis, and this is going to be a speed duel. And so in the last episode, Ignis called forth a data storm, so that they were riding the data storm, which is sort of like a wind that goes through the Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains, and apparently Yusaku is not too sure how to speed duel. Like, he referenced it last episode that he sort of knew that something similar to it existed, but it seemed like he wasn't necessarily prepared to do a speed duel today. Like, he didn't log in the Vrains ready to speed duel. He was ready to play his normal master rules. And so Ignis tries to explain it to him, but Yusaku's like, just keep it short, don't say too much, you're a hostage, I don't need your help, I'm amazing. And I thought that really showed a lot into their character dynamic, and I'm looking to see how it is going to be in the future and how that changes, because he was being very mean to Ignis. He was like, shut up, I'm thinking, shut up, I don't need your help. And I think he's going to be like this for now, but I think as Ignis continues to help him a little bit more and he starts to gain Yusaku's trust, I think he'll open up a little bit more to them. Especially once we learn a little bit more about Yusaku's character and some of his backstory, I think that Ignis is going to be a very good friend to him in the future. He'll become a lot more than just a quote-unquote hostage. But nonetheless, Ignis explains to him how speed duels work, and I think the major points were that you have 3 monster zones, 3 spell and trap card zones, 1 extra deck monster zone, but then the other cool things about speed duels are that you also only have a 4-card hand, no main phase 2, and once per duel, each player can use a skill. So we're going to get into those skills later. But nonetheless, let's get into the actual duel. And so it's interesting how they chose who goes first or second, because the Knight of Hanoi was just like, alright, we're dueling, I'm going first then. And Yusaku just sort of accepted it as if there wasn't an advantage to going first. But so nonetheless, the Knight of Hanoi goes first, and he does open very broken. I mean, it wouldn't be broken in real life, but in the anime, in a speed duel, it's very broken, because he opened up 2 Hackworms, Cracking Dragon, and Aircrack Storm. And so you can special summon both Hackworms and attribute both of them for Cracking Dragon. So on turn 1, he's able to summon a 3000 monster that lowers opponent's attack, can be destroyed by battle, and then burns opponents as well. So that's pretty insane. And so he does summon Cracking Dragon, and Yusaku's going to have to deal with that. And it's sort of funny because in the last episode, Ignis was like, man, that Cracking Dragon that this random Hanoi dude has is pretty big. I don't think you have any outs to it in your whole deck. But, in this episode, he's like, well, since you don't want my help, Yusaku, I'm just not going to help you deal with it. But, he summons the Cracking Dragon first turn, and Yusaku's going to have to deal with that. And I thought it was really cool because on Yusaku's turn, he summons a Cyverse Wizard. And Cyverse Wizard has the effect where you can turn monsters to defense and then attack over it. And then all your Cyverse monsters have, piercing. But Yusaku made a really cool read. Like, reads are important in the real game, and I didn't expect to see reads being made in the anime. But so, when he activated the Cyverse Wizard effect, declared what it was, that he was going to change Cracking Dragon to defense, and we both knew that Cracking Dragon has 0 defense, and that he was also going to get piercing. The Knight of Hanoi didn't seem phased at all. All he did was just sort of chuckle, like, Yusaku announced what he was going to do, and the Knight of Hanoi was just like, huh, okay, cool. And so because of that, Yusaku made a read, and he assumed and already knew that there was going to be something that was going to stop him from just, like, destroying the Cracking Dragon. Like, if he was going to lose his monster, he would have made a bigger reaction. And that's actually really relevant to duelists in real life, because a lot of times you'll make a play, and if your opponent doesn't seem too fazed by it, they might have another backup play or some way to protect their board. So it's pretty cool that he made that read. He noticed his opponent's reaction and then sort of was prepared for what was going to happen afterwards. And like a lot of times what I'll do is I'll ask a player like a certain question about a card, and if and judging their reaction, I'll be able to know like what they have and what they can do. And you can also do this based on what like someone draws. So like sometimes people will draw a card, and if it's really good, you might see them have like a slight smile, or their eyes might dilate. A lot of times when you see something that you're like or interested in, your pupils will dilate. And so if you look at somebody's eyes, a lot of times you can see how happy they are. And so noticing these little reactions in your opponents are very important. And it was cool to see that Yusaku did this in his duel. And so he changes the Cracking Dragon to defense, tries to attack over it, but of course he can't attack over it because Cracking Dragon can be destroyed by battle by lower level monsters. So Yusaku's in a tough position. He sets a couple back row and then passes turn. And then so on the next turn, the Knight of Hanoi actually uses his skill, and they explain what skills are. And skills are like some random broken effect apparently that both players can use only once a duel. And so the Knight of Hanoi, his skill was that he can draw twice. And that's actually pretty insane. So he draws 2 cards that turn. And he's able to use his Aircrack Storm. And then he drew into, I think, some traps. And so that was pretty interesting. And I think, just like to make some predictions, I guess it's going to be based on personality, I think. Or maybe their decks that they use. And I think since we know that Blue Angel is going to use Tricksters, I think she might have a skill that might be something along the lines of doing battle damage or effect damage. So it might be like all effect damage you do to your opponent is doubled this turn. Because Tricksters are based on like burn damage, I think. And so that would be pretty cool. Or maybe hers is just like deal 1,000 damage or deal 2,000 damage even. That'd be crazy since you only have 4,000 to start with. So it'll be cool to see the different player skills. Onizuka, his skill, it might be something of like raise your monster's attack, or maybe you can attack directly. He's like a big buff dude. He seems really, his deck seems aggressive. So I think he would have a skill that would sort of go along with that personality trait, as well as his deck and the sort of the personality of his deck, if that makes any sense. And so then on Yusaku's next turn, and by the way, he's able to survive the Knight of Hanoi's turn because he does draw a trap card, a 3-strike barrier. Interesting because that's actually a real card in real life that comes out in Code of the Duelist. Pretty cool. And so Yusaku uses 3-strike barrier to save himself on that turn. And on his next turn, he's able to special summon 3 monsters, and then he uses his skill. And Yusaku's skill is that he can, his skill is Data Storm Access. And so he can go into the Data Storm, which was like that tornado thing that was spinning around. It was like really dangerously destroying buildings and whatnot. So he can access that. He can go into the tornado, and then in there he can like find new cards, and like inside these new data storms, that's where like dangerous monsters lie that are unknown. And so he goes into the data storm, and then he pulls out a decode talker. But it's not like he got to summon it because of the access to the data storm. He just like gets it to his extra deck, I guess. Which means this is actually a very bad skill because it doesn't give you any advantage. It doesn't change the game at all. So it's kind of weird that the main character has a kind of an awful skill. And so maybe it gets better later on, but like sure, he got Decode Talker from the Data Storm. He still had to summon 3 monsters and summon the Decode Talker. But nonetheless, that is what he does. He summons Decode Talker. And this was actually a really cool sequence, the way they animated it. It was awesome seeing him summon Decode Talker, and then he one of his other cards could special summon itself from the graveyard, so he was able to bring it back. So Decode Talker's his attack went up to like 3,300. Oh, he brought back the Cyverse Wizard. Yeah. And Cyverse Wizard changed the Cracking Dragon to defense, and then all the Cyverse monsters, including Decode Talker, got piercing. And so then Cracking Dragon only has 0 defense once again, so he attacked in the Cracking Dragon with Decode Talker, so he got 3,300 piercing damage direct. And I think it was game after that, actually. It might have been. But nonetheless, we learned a couple of things from this duel. And the main things were that these duels are actually very dangerous. And so while you're speed dueling, you have to worry about your surroundings. It's not like you're just standing stationary dueling against your opponent. You also have to worry about the environment. So there's a point where Yusaku took damage. He almost fell off of his hoverboard. And they mentioned that if you fell off his hoverboard from that height, he would die. And if you die in the game, you die in real life. And now, another interesting thing is that you can, if you take enough, like, I guess, damage within a game, if you take enough damage, you'll have mental damage that next day when you wake up out of the Vrains. So that's also something to be wary of, because mental damage can have a lot of physical effects. And so I imagine if you lose a duel, you might go into like a short coma if you get like destroyed really badly or something. I don't know. And so we'll see how Yusaku is feeling the next episode, because his life points got very low. I think he was down to 300 life points at one point. And so we'll have to see how he feels when he logs out of Vrains and how much this affects him. And again, if you go back to the idea that if you die in the Vrains, you die in real life, it really reminded me of last episode where the Knights of Hanoi went into the city in Vrains and they had Cracking Dragon breathing fire on people, like completely burning people down to the ground. Like at first I thought they were just like, okay, it was, inside the Vrains, it's just a game, it's not real. But no, apparently if you get burned in Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains, you will like die in real life. So, RIP to those guys. That was really sad. Didn't expect that, but the stakes are high. Gotta pretty much win your duels here. This is dangerous. Now, another thing that was happening in the duel is when he was in the storm, he mentioned he had 3 reasons that he wanted to win this duel. And I think this is gonna be Yusaku's like thing. Like he's just gonna be like, here's 3 reasons for this, 3 reasons for that. And I guess this sort of goes to how analytical he is, but he had 3 reasons to win this duel. And first, he wanted to take back the stolen time from him. So, once again, we have a clue to this tragic backstory that he probably has, but I wonder what he means by stolen time. And it looked like they were like police officers carrying a bunch of children from maybe like a facility. Maybe they did like testing on him, like he's a human test subject, and they that's what he means by stalling time, because he was just stuck in there while they were testing on him. And who knows what they did? Maybe it's the reason why he can just draw the best cards at really opportune times. Maybe they were testing the heart of the cards on him. Or maybe it has something to do with the reason why he uses Cyverse monsters. Because they mentioned how rare Cyverse monsters were, and then the Knights of Hanoi even mentioned how they were trying to destroy Cyverse monsters, as well as destroy the Cyverse itself. And so it could have something to do with that. Now the second reason was that they want to save Kusanagi's brother from the darkness. And it looked like he was in sort of like a jail cell, maybe. So maybe they were able to save some of the children from this testing facility, it looked like. But maybe they couldn't save Kusanagi's brother. Maybe he's still there. Maybe he's still in the darkness being tested on. Who knows what they're doing. But they gotta save him somehow. But then the third reason was that he wanted to meet the one who gave him courage. And so I wonder who that could be. And they showed a little flashback to when Yusaku was a child and there was a voice calling out to them. And I guess this person could be maybe another child that was in the facility, or like another child he knew. It didn't sound at least like an adult calling to him. It'll be interesting to see who this person is that gave him courage. Maybe it was, or no, it could be Kusanagi's brother, because he already knows him, apparently. But it would be a crazy plot twist if it is another child that was in this facility, but that other child was, but it turns out that other child is like Revolver or something. And so it's like Revolver and Yusaku are maybe in this facility where they were being held captive and tested on or something crazy. But they both got out, but they sort of came out with different opposing views of the world. So like Yusaku came out and was like, I need to protect the Cyverse. It's, a good thing. But then Revolver came out and was like, no, we need to get rid of the Cyverse because of this, because of what happened. And so that's, I think, something that could happen. It'll be interesting to see what does happen and how they play this off. But I thought that was very telling. And so nonetheless, I thought this was a very good episode. I would give it maybe an 8 out of 10. The music and the animation were very good, of course. I'm starting to really like this opening theme song. It's pretty catchy, and the music throughout the episode is very appropriate. The animation quality is, again, top-notch. I thought the plot was very good. They had, even though the speed duel took up most of the time, they dropped little hints of the plot throughout. Like, they talked about the rules of speed duels. They talked about, we did a link summon, so that kind of moves us forward a little bit. We learned a little bit about Yusaku's past and also some of his motivations. We saw a little bit of character development, like we saw the relationship between Yusaku and Ignis. We also saw, or if you noticed, while they were watching the Vrains duel from like the real world, Kusanagi and Naoki were talking to each other. They were coincidentally standing next to each other watching. And so that might be like Yusaku's little cheering section for now. It's interesting to see those two characters that he both knows together. But Kusanagi knows that Yusaku is Playmaker versus Naoki, who has no idea. So he's just like, Playmaker, beat his ass, He's just cheering on Playmaker without even knowing that it's his own classmate. And now we also saw a moment with Blue Angel, because again, she saved him when he fell off of his board. She was able to like use a little whip to send it back to him. So she did save him, which is, I guess, payback for what happened last episode where Playmaker had saved Blue Angel. So I could see a little relationship growing between both of them. I mean, they've had this little moment where they saved each other. And then we also saw Go Onizuka for a little bit as well. And he seemed a little bit jealous of Playmaker. He was like, man, this guy's taking all the spotlight from us, blah, blah, blah. So I think he might be a little bit apprehensive towards Playmaker at first. But I think they might become friends towards, or after maybe dueling each other once and they respect each other's skill. So we did get a little bit of character development for a lot of our main characters. And of course, there was action. The duel was great. The animation throughout the duel was great. I thought the actual duel sequence itself, like the playing, was pretty good. Yusaku was making reads on his opponent's back row and abilities. I thought it was a very good duel. And then finally, the duel was very relevant to the plot. So I guess sort of the things I scored this on were like music and animation, plot, some of the action, which are the duel sequences, and the relevance from the plot to the actions or to the duels. So I wouldn't like if they were just like these random duels. So one important thing about this duel is that they introduced speed duels to us. We learned about link monsters. We learned a lot of things just about dueling in this universe. And now they could have done this in a completely meaningless duel. Like last episode, Yusaku could have dueled Naoki, and it would have been completely the same. Like they would have showed us how speed duels work, etc. But instead of just having us do some random duel where it didn't matter just to show it off, they put a lot of meaning and like backstory into this duel. And then finally, there was some character development, which I also really value. And so again, I would give this episode a good 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it, and I cannot wait for next week's episode. And so let me know what you think about this episode down in the comment section below. Let me know Again, I'd really appreciate any feedback you guys have. This is sort of new to me. I haven't done too many episode reviews yet, so I'm still trying to work on a good format for it, like how I should do these, like what I should say, what I should show on the screen, how to keep you guys interested, and just overall how to make this a more entertaining video. And so let me know in the comment section how I can improve these. I'd really appreciate any sort of feedback you guys have for me. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.